I mean, it's a good reason I hadn't picked it up yet. And then came the most shocking thing that I never thought would happen. Well, I don't want to say this because that's kind of a spoiler. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So it is time for another reading wrap up of the past couple of months because I now do them every 3 months. So it's time for July, August and September. I had a very good reading quarter of the year. I read 15 books, a couple of which were very big books, and I hadn't read so many big books in such a short amount of time in a very long time. So let's first take a look at some statistics, which is always one of my favorite things to make for these wrap ups, to just give you an overview of everything that I've read. I'm gonna move to here so I can put them right here. I've got my laptop, so let's take a look at the format first. I read 9 physical books, 1 ebook and 5 audiobooks, which means I've read 15 books in total. When it comes to the age category, it's very boring. I read 15 adult books. I didn't read any other books, but I plan for the next couple of months to do pick up a few YA books and maybe a middle grade even. When it comes to the genres, I've read 5 non-fiction books. As you can tell, I'm pretty much in a non-fiction mood. I've read 3 fantasy, 2 contemporary, and then 1 classic romance, a thriller, magical realism, and historical fiction. Right now, I'm also reading 2 non-fiction books, so I'm in a very good non-fiction mood. In total, I read 3,894 pages, and as you can see, in August, I've read the most pages, then September, and July was the worst reading month when it comes to the amount of pages. When it comes to audiobooks, I've listened to 46 hours worth of audiobook, and I've only listened to audiobooks in August, which is surprising because normally I listen to many audiobooks, but for July and September, I was like, nope. No audiobooks for me. And then lastly, the ratings. I've read so many 5-star books, but I will talk more about them later on in the video, why I gave all of them 5 stars or why I didn't really feel like rating them actually. So I gave them 5 stars, but I will talk more about that. I've also read 3, 4 and 3 4.25 star books, which is amazing. And then just 1 2-star, 1 3-star, 1 3.5 star, and 2 2.5 stars. So overall, I've read so many amazing books. I'm so excited to talk about them. Okay, since there are only 15 books, I will quickly go through all of them, and I will just start at the first book I finished in July, which is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This has become one of my new favorites. This is a memoir about Dolly Alderton's life in her 20s. It is all about love and friendship and money and sex and work and parties and just little stories about her life being in her 20s and living in a big city, you know, with roommates, and how her life has been. I think I needed this in my life. I'm 26 right now, so I can definitely relate to many things that she's talking about, and I also felt like reading some of these stories like, oh my goodness, I am not alone in feeling like this. And she really just gave sort of a voice to some things that I was feeling in my head, and she just kind of put it into words, which felt very nice. So if you're looking for a very inspiring memoir, definitely pick up this book. It was so good, and I can't wait to reread it and also read her fiction novel, Ghosts. The next one was another non-fiction book, again kind of a memoir, Year of the Monkey by Patti Smith. If you know me, you know that I absolutely loved Just Kids by Patti Smith, and I've read M Train, which is another one of her memoirs, which is about her travels, and this one is also about her travels. And this is mostly, I believe this was like traveling in, oh yeah, Santa Cruz, and just in the United States and in California and Arizona. And I like this one a lot more than M Train, which is more about traveling abroad or like outside of the US. And this was more inside of the US, and I don't know, I just like this one a little bit more. And I just really find her a very cool and inspiring person because she's really talking about the beauty of like these everyday things and just getting a little cup of coffee in this cute coffee place and meeting interesting people. And it was just a really interesting story. I enjoyed it so much. I think I gave this one like 4 out of 5 stars. The other one, the first one, I gave 5 out of 5 stars. But I just can't wait to read even more of Patti Smith's work because I think she's a very cool woman. Next up, I did a 24-hour readathon with my friend Leora from Books with Leo, and I finally picked up We to Drown by Carsten Jensen. I think I've had this book on my shelf for at least 4 years, and I mean, it's a good reason I hadn't picked it up yet, because it is absolutely massive and very dense and quite slow, but I managed to read it. I did not read the physical copy, I read the ebook, which helped me get through it so much quicker, but yeah, I still read it. So basically, Weeded Drowned is a seafarer's novel, and it follows a few generations of men in Scandinavia who are going on these big adventures to islands, to like meeting captains, learning about new cultures. And so it takes place like sometimes on ships, but also in just their hometowns, where they talk about family life and everything that has to do with living back home again and going back home after years on sea. Whilst I was reading this book, I definitely enjoyed it very much, but I just wasn't too impressed. I thought I was going to love it and like just like it a lot more, because I was kind of missing some adventure, even though there was definitely adventure in there, but I was just expecting it to be a bit more shocking sometimes, or adventurous, and sometimes it was just a little bit slow, even though it was interesting reading about, you know, the family dynamics in this book, but still it was missing something. However, then I reached the end of the book and I don't know, it all just came together and it bumped up my rating for like maybe a half a star, maybe even 1 full star, because just the ending made me feel very warm, and it was like everything was full circle sort of, which I loved. So I ended up giving this one 4.25 out of 5 stars. I'm so happy I finally read it, and it was definitely a journey. Then I listened to The Idea of You, which is a romance book about this woman who goes to see a sort of One Direction-ish band together with her daughter, and then they manage to get backstage, and then the mother falls in love with the lead singer. So I always had him like in my head, I was like, this woman falls in love with the Harry Styles of this band, and it's about their relationship, and it was very just enjoyable. It's not really my cup of tea, but it was definitely very enjoyable and fun, and it was a bit spicy sometimes. I didn't love it, it's just not really my cup of tea, but as I said, it's a very fun romance. And the audiobook was really nice as well. Next I read Milk Fed, written by Melissa Broder. This one is very popular on BookTok right now, and the cover is just really like right in your face. It's about this girl who's been struggling with eating disorders for a very long time and counting calories, like obsessively counting calories. So this is definitely a trigger warning for eating disorders. But she meets this woman who is going to try to help her kind of get out of this and help her eat and enjoy life. And there's also this romance part involved, there's like this sexual tension. It was incredibly unique. I've never read anything like this, sometimes a bit uncomfortable as well. So definitely one of these unhinged female character books that are very popular right now. It wasn't my favorite. I think I gave this one like 3 out of 5 stars. Since I was in the unhinged female character mood, I decided to pick up A Certain Hunger. So this book is basically about a woman who goes on dates with men and then she likes killing them. So it was a bit disgusting and a bit crazy, but you were so sucked into her brain as like why she's doing this and what her reasoning behind it is and why she wanted to do this, that I was completely sucked into this book. If you don't like gory disgustingness, don't read this book. It was pretty gory, but I enjoyed it so much and I really flew through it. I think I gave this one like 4.25 out of 5 stars. It was a very good one, and I now know why it's so popular on BookTok and on BookTube as well a little bit. By the way, I'm quite active on BookTok or like TikTok nowadays, so if you want to check out my TikTok, I'll link it down below. I'm trying to make more bookish videos on there. So yeah, this one was very good and a bit disturbing, but in a good way. Next up, I listened to the audiobook of Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, which is so incredibly popular right now. It's basically about her life as a child actor being thrown into the showbiz world by her mum, because her mum was the one who pushed her to do this. And it was so incredibly tragic and painful, and I have so much respect for her. She narrated the audiobook herself, and it was basically about just her traumatic past, being this child actor, the things that her mum did to her in order to make her this very popular and famous actress, as well as the eating disorder that she developed because of this and the calorie counting. And it was so incredibly painful to listen to. You could also just feel how emotional she became whilst, you know, telling this story and reading it out loud. And I have, as I said, just so much respect that she wrote all of this down, because I'm sure this must have been very painful and difficult to write for her, but definitely one of the best memoirs I've read. Like, you can't really rate these type of books because it's something so personal to someone. Definitely recommend this, but be prepared because it's incredibly tragic and sad and emotional. After I listened to this memoir, I was like, I want to read more celebrity memoirs. So I looked on my audiobook servers to see if they've got some other ones. And then I found Finding Me by Viola Davis, who is an amazing actress. I love her so very much. And this is also about how she became the actress and person that she is right now. So it started all the way back from when she was very young. And just, again, such tragic things that she had to go through and experience in order to get where she is now. And it was so inspiring to see that she was not held back by any of the things that were trying to hold her back. And she really just persevered, and see how freaking successful and beautiful and strong she is now. So this was also a very inspiring book. And I just love that she also narrated it herself. I think that just adds this sort of extra dimension to an audiobook that is about a celebrity if they narrate it themselves, because they are really talking about their own life stories. It's the same as with Michelle Obama's book, which was also narrated by her and was amazing. So again, a very amazing memoir, which I also rated 5 stars. Again, I don't really feel like you can rate this, but it was really personal and beautiful and inspiring, and I love her even more now. Next up, I read The Island of Dr. Moreau, written by H.G. Wells. I have to say, I kind of forgot I had this on my shelf because it's so tiny. So I basically didn't even see it. I was just looking through my books, like, what do I want to read? And then I suddenly found this one again. So basically, this is a story about Edward, and he's a single survivor of a shipwreck, and he ends up on this island where he meets Dr. Moreau. And Dr. Moreau is this kind of twisted individual who wants to, what was it? He's like a vivisectionist. So it's basically trying to turn beasts into men. And it was very messed up and disturbing. I have to say I couldn't really get into this book, unfortunately. Even though it was so short, I was struggling to finish this book. Did finish it in the end. I don't know why I didn't DNF it, but I was also kind of intrigued to see how this was going to end because it was a bit messed up. And then came the most shocking thing that I never thought would happen. But I finally read The Priory of the Orange Tree, and I read this, I think, in like a week and a half. I was sucked into this book, and I read it physically as well, which surprised me even more because normally reading a physical book like this makes me so like intimidated by them because they're so big, but I finally read it. So this is a story about a queen who is, you know, going to have to get an heir in order to ensure that her queendom will prevail. And it's about dragons as well, and it's about different characters whom you follow in different perspectives, and people trying to save the queen, people trying to kill the queen, people trying to protect the queen, and it was very good. The only thing is that throughout the book, I was incredibly sucked into it. However, I was so not impressed by the ending, which is so sad because you're reading so much of this book and you're so sucked into it, and then the ending, it's like this was the ending and then it was over. Like, why does it go so fast? Whereas the book could have been 200 pages shorter, in my opinion. But then the ending was so rushed, which is a shame. Still thought it was incredibly good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'm so happy I finally read it and that I managed to read it in such a short amount of time. But I just expected a little bit more. But it was nice to finally read a fantasy, a big ass fantasy book again. And I liked that it was a standalone, even though there is a second one coming, but I believe that's like a prequel. I don't know if I'm going to be reading it, but who knows. I really did like the characters though. I was very sucked into the characters' lives. Then I decided to listen to another celebrity memoir, namely Elton John's Me. And this was a very random one because I have to say, I never really listened to Elton John's music apart from just a couple, like Tiny Dancer or what's it called, like Rocket Man or Our Song, I think. My Song? I don't know. Sometimes it just happens to be in my playlist. So I decided to listen to it. It was quite a long one actually. Like I've seen the film Rocketman, so I knew a little bit about his drug addiction. However, in the book he went so much deeper into this and how it affected him and how it really, like how he had to turn his life around. Otherwise he would not be here and it would not be a healthy way to live at all. So he was very honest about that and he really just talked about everything. He really didn't care what people were going to be thinking of him, and the way he was just so open and honest about everything. So again, a very interesting memoir. Elton John narrated the prologue, and then the entire book was actually narrated by, what's it called again? Taron Egerton? I have to look it up. Yes, Taron Egerton, who portrayed him in his film Rocketman. So it's still, even though it wasn't Elton John himself, it still felt like it was quite close to him because Taron actually portrayed him in the film. And he had a very, very nice voice to listen to. Then we've got another miracle because I read another fantasy book, which was a big one. I finally read the second book in the Poppy War trilogy, The Dragon Republic. So the Poppy War trilogy is inspired by China and it's very focused on like warfare and the Chinese culture. And you follow a girl named Ren who has these kind of magical powers that she's trying to learn more about. There's the evil empress that they want to, you know, take down. And the first book, I really, really liked that one. I gave it, I think, 4 out of 5 stars. But this one I unfortunately didn't love as much because it was honestly 99% of the time focused on warfare, and sometimes I was just getting a little bit tired of all the war... Ow, I just bit my tongue. I was getting a little bit tired of all the war strategies. Okay, now I know. Now it's enough. But it didn't really end, to be honest. So unfortunately, I just didn't really like this one as much as the first one. I think I gave it like 3.5 out of 5 stars because still the story was very, very much a solid fantasy and the characters were very well written. There were definitely a few cool plot twists and just like shocking plot twists as well. But I was just missing something because it was so much focused on war. So yeah, I have to say, I don't know if I'm very excited to read the third one and the final one, even though many people are telling me that they preferred that one over the second one. So we'll see. I've got 3 more books to talk about. I hope my battery will make it. But then, let me see, the next one I read was Sally Rooney's Beautiful World, Where Are You? So a couple of months ago I read Normal People by Sally Rooney, which I didn't really love. I think I gave it like 3, maybe 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then I decided to also read this one because I'm still very much intrigued by her writing and her stories. So I picked up this one and I actually like this more than Normal People. So this one follows 4 people and it's basically all about their lives, you know, with friendship and love and work and trust and family and going on vacations and figuring out who they want to be with, what they want to do in life, and you know, it's very much Sally Rooney. Not a lot happens when I think of it, but I still felt like I could relate to some of the things that these characters were going through. Some things were a bit crazy, but sometimes I could really relate to these characters, and I like this very much actually. I gave this one maybe 4 stars, I think. I like this one more than Normal People. I think I'm one of the only ones. Let me know if you like this one more than Normal People or if you prefer Normal People. But I'm very happy I read this one. So I also picked up her third novel, Conversations with Friends, that I want to be reading very soon. Okay, 2 more books. This was unfortunately my least favorite book that I read in the past couple of months. It is called Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. This is again one of these books about unhinged female characters going through lots of drama and shit in their lives. And this is about a mother who you follow like from her perspective with her struggles with her husband who is always working. She has to be at home a lot, she has to take care of their son. And basically she is, well, I don't want to say this because that's kind of a spoiler, so I'm not going to say it, but there's this one part in the story where it suddenly turned into like magical realism, and I didn't realize that at first. I was just like, what is happening? I couldn't really relate to her in any way. It was interesting how they were talking about how you always have a working mum and a dad, but it's never a working dad, you know? Why is it special when a mum is working and it's just normal that a dad is working, and if a mum is working it's like a working mum? No, it's just a mum and a dad and they're both working or they're not working. So she was talking about those type of things, which was very interesting because it felt very much, you know, as kind of this debate about what is happening in the real world. And it really makes you think about that, how women are often still thought of as like, you know, they're going to take care of the kids and then the father is going to work to earn all the money. So that's a thing that I really liked about this book. But apart from that, I just couldn't really get into it. I couldn't really be bothered by many things that she was dealing with. So I'm curious if any of you have read this book, because I only recently got it. I believe it's also quite a new release. Oh no, it was first published in hardback in 2021 and then in paperback 2022. But let me know if you've read this. Unfortunately, it just was my favorite. And then the last book. Oh my god, no, my battery is empty. Am I gonna try? I'm gonna try. The last book I read was Before Your Memory Fades by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is the third book in his Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, which is one of my favorite series that takes place in a little cafe in Japan where people can go back in time to maybe say something they wish they said to someone or did something they wish they'd done inside this little cafe. And you follow a few characters through 4 different stories, and every story focuses on a different character who is going back in time. And all of these stories and books are just so beautiful, and the premise is so simple, but you really get sucked into these people's lives. And it's always like there's sadness as well, and it's so beautiful. And I was like, I nearly finished the book and I was like, okay, my battery didn't make it. I think I ended at saying that I had nearly reached the end of this book and I was like, how have I not cried yet? Because normally I cry so much at these books. But then it came. How has this guy the ability to make you cry at every single book? So if you're looking for a very beautiful and kind of like just a simple, it feels very warm and cozy, definitely pick up this book and this entire book series, because it's just one of my favorites. I'm so happy I found out about this book series. Also, the covers are so pretty. Look, it's so shiny and beautiful. I love these series very much. So these were all the 15 books that I read in the last couple of months. I'm so excited about this reading wrap up and all the fancy books that I read, all like the big books, because it's been a long time. I really hope you like this video, and if you want to comment something but you don't know what to comment a coffee cup emoji because of Before the Coffee Gets Cold in the little cafe. So again, thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having a really beautiful day, and I'll see you in my next video.